Okay, we have a presentation. Oh, it's a tag team by Charles Jobson and Deepak John from Salesforce, talking about 3,692 Make Every Moment Matter. Make some noise for Charles and Deepak. Come on up. While I talk about you guys, Deepak John is an engineer by education and a marketer by choice. He's a B2C specialist at Salesforce and supports the Middle East region in conversations across marketing, loyalty, and all things customer engagement. Charles retired as an anthropologist in 2016. Charlie has refocused his efforts on all things tech, having spent the last 7 years working for organizations like SAP and Salesforce. Charlie is leveraging the skills he learned as an anthropologist to make sense of the world and the future of all things marketing and CX. I will have one question. Let me start. We want to know what 3,692 signifies in your presentation. Take it away. I know, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
Amazing, amazing. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. There's been some great sessions today. So we're here to speak to you today about how we can make every moment matter. We've been through introductions, so we're not going to go and introduce the hosts again today.
Charlie, high time we answer that question. What is that big number that you have up there?
3,692, so not to start on a downer, but this is the average number of weeks that on average everyone in this room will live. And when you look at it on the screen, it's a tiny number, and in the grand scheme of the world, it's even smaller. But it's actually a very big number. If you think about our lives, moments of joy, moments of gratitude, moments of happiness, there's a lot of things that go into that. So we want to refocus our thoughts and presentation around two topics, passion and purpose. And I love this quote by Debbie Levanthal. She's a leading professor over in the States that focuses on management and corporate social responsibility. She says, passion is the electricity in the car, but purpose is the direction that the car is driving. You need the passion. You need to be passionate about purpose, otherwise the car won't get going. But you also need to know where you are going and what you're trying to achieve. So what does this mean? Passion and purpose are intrinsically linked. And as marketers, our job is to be passionate about our purpose, which is building relationships with customers. Something that I love to do is I always love to tell a story. So I want to flash everyone back to London in 2020. This was the start of doomsday. This was the start of COVID. It was March 2020. The world was going crazy. For those of you who have been to London, this is Clapham Common, where I lived. Unfortunately, not in that beautiful pergola. I was in a one-bedroom flat around the corner. But this was a very exciting time for me. I just bought my first house, and I just accepted a role to join Salesforce, my dream company. But I was petrified. I was anxious. It was COVID. I had to think about packing, my bills, my utilities. Are people at Salesforce even going to like me? So what should have been a very exciting time in my life was full of anxiety and nerves. But this is where the hero of the story flies in. So traditionally, engaging with telcos can be quite a painful experience. Sorry if there's any of you in the room today. But Vodafone did it in a different way. I didn't own our contract. I was calling Vodafone up to cancel our contract. They asked me about me, my cares, my wants, my wishes, what I was up to. I told them, I'm moving house, we're cancelling the contract, I just want to end the relationship there. Almost 7 days later exactly, I got a promotion into my inbox. Hi Charlie, congratulations on becoming a first-time house owner with a very, very relevant promotion. And every single communication, every email, every SMS, every phone call, even when my technician John arrived at my door to install my broadband package, it was all about me. So flashing forwards 2 years later, I've got every single product or service that Vodafone own. I'm an advocate. I'm a loyalist. The start of that conversation, when I had no relationship with them, it's all been focused about me. So I now have told Deepak to go with Vodafone. I've told my family and my friends. So the opportunity for all of you in here is combining that passion, combining that purpose around your customer. A man I'm sure a lot of you have heard or seen before, Warren Buffett. He says price is what you pay, but value is what you get. Vodafone are not the cheapest. They're not trying to be the cheapest. They're competing on the experience. So in the context of that in this room, and Deepak's going to speak about it more a little bit later, think about your experience. Drive your experience with purpose and with passion because it's all focused around your customer. So we're going to speak about three key themes today. The number one is around the customer experience. That's why we're all here today. We're then going to look at personalization and obviously looking into the future as well. So Deepak, keen to get you up on stage for the second bit.
Thank you, Charlie. Passion and purpose. Wow. So, customer experience is the new battleground. I could almost hear the sigh in the room when that slide comes up, right? We've heard it before. There's almost a sense of deja vu, isn't there, when that comes up? In fact, this statement goes all the way back from 2016 by the former CIO of Dell Computers. Yet, 2022, things are different. We're truly living in the world of the future. If anybody's heard, AI can now win art competitions. You know, we've got trips to the moon coming up. Flying foxes even, right? In this new normal that we have, where pretty much everything is a subscription, our attention span, that's quite fleeting in nature. There are organizations out there that do an incredible job in managing customer expectations and doing that. Thanks, Charlie. So I want to set that scene for you, the customer experience gap. Before we were employers, employees, CMOs, CXOs, we're first and foremost consumers. All of us, we know what a good experience looks like, and we also know what a great experience feels like internally. So some numbers out there for you. 3 out of 4 organizations out there, 75% of organizations out there, truly, well and truly believe they have the customer at the heart of every single thing that they do. Contrast that with the other number, 30%. 1 in 3 of us in this room believe that. So there's a number of reasons why that gap exists, and I want to unpack 3 of those for you today. The first one is this whole concept of marketing myopia. Brings me back to my college days. So this is from 1960s, if you believe it, by a Harvard Business School professor, Theodore Levitt. And the way he kind of described it back then, very much relevant for us today, was this is that narrow and inward-focused view of businesses to think about process and revenue in the short term, rather than thinking about you and me and everybody else as consumers. Why is that important? In 2022, as the empowered consumer, we have choices. We've heard that before. And the choices that we have extend from products, categories, and brands far outside what we sell, our peer group. Case in point, Apple, they're doing movies. Amazon, if you haven't heard, they're going to be in pharma very soon. Starbucks, they will be the largest gas station for EVs in the future. Largest gas station, think about that, for electronic vehicles. That's the future. So when you think about all of those in context, what Theodore Levitt said, another quote, I love this guy, what he said was, people don't buy the quarter-inch drill, they buy the quarter-inch hole. And that's profound, because it actually talks to the fact that it's not a single transaction that's taking place. This is about the customer experience through and through that an individual has. And then leading from there is when we start thinking about the value chain. And I've been guilty of this. When we design customer experiences and we start to think about customer journeys and maps, we say, marketing is working in silo, sales is working in silo, our offline centers are working in silo. But think about the experience that we have. You and I have had today. Think about going to the bank, buying something online. Very linear in nature. And in that linearity, we see there are multiple actors coming in, multiple people coming in. And if you're a retailer, you probably know our experience is probably let down by that last mile delivery. So when we begin to think CX, and when organizations out there think CX through and through, they think about it not just within the context and that little box of the organization, but through and through across that value chain that we have. Empowered employees. I think it was Richard Branson that famously said, your employees come first. Look after them, and they will take care of your clients. You know, we heard Charlie's story about John, the consumer coming in. I'm going to give you a personal story. That's my little pet dog, Milo. My wife and I got this guy a little while now, and I want to tell you a story because it was quite memorable for me, and specifically I want to tell you about my experience down to the pet store. It was memorable for a number of reasons, specifically 2 reasons. Number 1 and number 2 at the pet store. We were there, flustered, overwhelmed by everything that's happening, and came to assistance was this lovely lady who had just joined the business there. She saw how flustered we were, supported us, filled our shopping trolley with everything that we needed, consoling us, giving us advice on the first couple of nights with the puppy. When we went to the till, she was advising us on things like insurance policies, maybe even recommending other things outside of that store as well. And to build it off, she gave us even a discount as well. She didn't have to do any of those things. I was a loyal customer even before they signed me up to their program. That's the kind of experience that I want. And from numbers, if you want it, organizations that actively think about employee experience and empowering employees are 21% more profitable than organizations that do not. Right, this is going to be an interesting one. Indulge me, if you will. Can people show their hands if they can remember a great experience? You know? Probably one or two people. The rest of you, you're in the right place, because we're going to cover that here. What about if you've had a bad experience, you know, horrible and awful experience? Any show of hands? God. Right, so a stat for that. 80% of consumers, you and I, we will leave a brand after having just one singular experience, bad experience with that brand. What about in the middle? Like a meh experience, a sort of a mediocre experience? One or two people. Chances are you're going to have to think about that mediocre experience. If you're at the extreme of doing good, there's business value. If you're at the extreme on the other side of having a horrible experience to your consumer, that is still okay, because you're still top of mind, memorable, but for the wrong reasons. If you're in the middle, that's where the trouble is. At that middle ground, what you're competing for is just purely based on price. And that's a race to the bottom, usually. In the UK supermarket of about 30,000, 40,000 items out there, the single most common average thing that everybody sticks in their basket is a banana. When we start defining customer experiences, let's not go down the banana route. Let's start thinking about at the extremes of either one of them, and there's definite business value in doing it well. Now, who doesn't love a great story, right? I find stories quite fascinating because they have a way of evoking emotions in our hearts and minds. They have a way in which we can pass that information on from one person to the next, from a generation to the next. And that's exactly what experiences that we design are meant to do. And as organizations, as marketers, as CMOs, that is our job. We design experiences. And the way we design experiences need to have a lot of data, but importantly, a lot of insight. Salesforce, we go to market, we study the economy, we study consumers, their behavior. Interesting stats here, quite revealing. 4 out of 10 UAE, that's only 4 out of UAE customers trust organizations with their data. Contrast that with the other one, 80%, just that double number. They actually want to give data, and they want to have location turned on. They want to have push notifications turned on. I'm going to extrapolate that sentence at the back there. It says, would share their data to personalize their experience, provided there is value exchange happening between yourself and the consumer as well. Here's another stat for you. 62% of consumers actually expect organizations to recognize intent and anticipate their needs as well. And a lot of that comes down to data and insights and how we work through that. There's another slide just to prove that point. McKinsey are also saying the same thing. If you're using data to personalize, you are going to see more business benefits coming out of it. But for me, when I read this report, the interesting thing was more the subject line, the headline that companies that capture more value from personalization grow faster. Right? And the way I kind of read that is these are organizations that don't personalize for revenue, but they think about consumers first. They think about CX first. And because of the way they're thinking about CX, naturally, they want to use data. And because of that data, they're able to personalize. And that flywheel effect. Personalization leads to better experience, leads to more personalization, better experience. So you are seeing business benefits coming in from organizations that think about priority, that think about purpose, and how they think about their go-to-market as well. The famed cookie monster. One day it's here, the next day it's gone, then it's in 2024. I think we can all pretty much agree that it's confusing. And the fact that it needs to change. It needs to change because cookies are of an era of No Instagrams. It was just plain websites where we're sharing today more and more insights and data. The relevancy of these things come super important. Zero-party and first-party data, for most of you that are familiar with it, it is a way in which we try to take on insights, intent, explicitly get data from customers. Second and third-party data, second-party data is, of course, another organization's first-party data. And down at the bottom here, you have this little marker that says high trust to low trust. And the reason why I call it out is because it's all about context. Second-party data for another organization is incredibly valuable. For you, may not be. And the reason why that is, when we start to think about insights and personalization, we seldom think about context. It's all about who do I want to target, as opposed to asking that question, why am I targeting that individual? So first, second, third, all of them super relevant, and they're even more relevant if you think about network effects, like the experience that we spoke about extending across your value chain. When you've got an experience that spans the entire value chain, there's that network effect that's multiplying the CX and the experience that we have. So as much as we're thinking first and second party data, consider everything outside of it as well. And how is that being surfaced? If you look at loyalty programs of today, and we have a panel session in the afternoon for that, the future loyalty programs are now beginning to bring in not just your peers, not just your competitors, but everybody's working together, so there's value sharing across first, second, third party data, and so on. It's another beautiful slide in there, but the story for me in this one is you've got all of your Lego bricks, and you've got that pretty castle at the end. Could be a rocket ship for some of you. Why is this important? All of those Lego bricks get translated into that castle based on passion and purpose. Those are the blueprints of everything that you do as an organization. So when we speak with customers who say, I need to capture more data, more data, more data, the question that we ask them is, why are you doing that? Hence why the passion and the purpose are super relevant. And as we go through this motion of overlaying passion, purpose on that data to get to that castle, ask the important questions of how am I exchanging value? And I'll leave you with 3 points there. The first one is think about context. Think about context of the consumer and think about it in the context of your value chain. Second one, think about what value exchange you actually bring into that individual and that consumer. And the third one, making sure there's a call to action. And a call to action doesn't necessarily mean buy something. It's a call to action of how you and the consumer can come together. So with all of that said, Charlie, can you bring us home in terms of what this means for the consumer in the future?
Thank you, Deepak. So thinking about the future, a quote that I like, because you can use it every time we do a talk, is the world has never moved this fast, but it's also never going to move this slowly again. So how do you build agility in mind? We hear all of these buzzwords, cryptos, NFTs, metaverse. The internet 40 years ago was a buzzword, and now everything we do revolves around the internet. And we're seeing these trends coming to life. For those at the back that might not be able to read it, top left, 91 countries around the world are now experimenting with digital currencies. In the middle, OpenSea, a platform that was founded 18 months ago, outsold Etsy 3 times over last year. And then up on the left-hand side, unprecedented opportunity in the UAE, set to become one of the world's top 10 metaverse economies in the next few years. And when we start to think about the opportunities that lie ahead, it's new channels, it's new products, it's new identities. Many brands in this room, like Emirates, are beginning to experiment with this. It's metaverse today, but what might it be tomorrow? So think about the future strategy, think about the agility that enables that. We then got new products, NFTs. This is about how do you build brand affinity with the new consumer, Gen Z. Everyone's expecting a different experience. So again, it's how do you enable that experience for tomorrow by laying the right foundations for today. The final one that I find a little bit weird and interesting is new identities, so digital twins, reimagining yourself in a digital world. And Deepak was speaking about the cookieless future. There's got to be a bit of give and a bit of take. This is where you can understand someone's preferences, their behaviors, what they really care about, so you can drive that personalization. All of this is going to be in Web3, so it offers a huge amount of flexibility for businesses that seize the opportunity. Digital wallets. So if we look at a brand like Starbucks, known for Costa Coffee, they've got a loyalty program. It's got 24 million members around the world. With their digital wallet, they are one of the largest banks in the world. They've got 1.6 billion in deposits. So think about the opportunity that lies in front for all of you. But it would be amiss if we didn't focus on the here and now to, I guess, bring us home. So one of the key ones is around connected experience. I myself as a consumer, we're all consumers, we don't want to interact with lines of business. We want to interact with a brand. So how do you build a customer-first experience across sales, marketing, commerce, whatever that might be that focuses around your customer? The next one is around shared values. And Deepak spoke earlier around the employee experience. So developing that culture of purpose and passion revolving around your employees internally, but also that value exchange with your customers. How do you make sure that it's give and take? They're getting value and you're getting value back. And the final one is around personalization. So my story at the start with Vodafone, that was all about personalization. Without that, I would not be a customer of Vodafone. We started the session today with 3,692. But a key number is 8 seconds. This is the amount of time that you've got to catch the attention span of one of your customers. So think about it. Every moment matters in what you're doing. So build that into everything that you're doing. The final slide. So a lot of the Salesforce team are here. Salesforce, you don't mind putting your hands up in the audience. We're over at the booth just outside, so come have a chat with us today. Come and meet us. We'd love to meet you. QR codes might be hard to scan from down there. We've got everything at our booth. Thank you all so much for being here today, and looking forward to speak to you later.